بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى يوم الدين. Brothers and sisters, before we start tonight's speech, I would like to mention an Islamic rule, and that is the ruling of dishonoring of the month of Ramadan. In countries where the month of Ramadan is universally observed, if somebody, even if they're traveling, even if they're excused from fasting, they're not allowed to, in public, eat and dishonor the month of Ramadan. For example, you make a trip to the Middle East or a country that is primarily Muslim. There you are a traveler, even though you're not fasting. And you get hungry and you decide to eat. That itself is dishonoring the month of Ramadan. It has to be honored. Now, in those countries, if you go to a place that is usually, it is okay to eat, like they know that you are a traveler, maybe at a hotel, at an airport, there it would be allowed. Now, the question is, what about in America? Would it be considering dishonoring the month of Ramadan if we eat outside, if we're not fasting, if we're traveling, if we're excused from fasting? Usually they say, the answer they give is that because the month of Ramadan has not been fully observed here yet, it would not be a sin to eat in public. But maybe in the future, inshallah, we will have a community or a city that would generally observe the month of Ramadan, and then it would be honored. But as this rule applies for us now is when we travel to Middle Eastern countries in the month of Ramadan, or Muslim countries in the East, in other places in Africa that are Muslim countries, it is not allowed to break the rules of fasting outside, even though you are excused from fasting. Please recite a salawat. Tonight, brothers and sisters, is one of the nights of Qadr. 19th, 21st, and 23rd are the nights that the probability of the month of Ramadan, this night of Laylatul Qadr is the highest. Some say that the 19th is when our, basically what's going to decree for us is going to be set. It's going to be fixed during the 21st and 23rd. Right? So all of these nights, some say, have somehow they're chained together, the 19th, the 21st, and the 23rd. But the most important nights is the 21st and 23rd. These are the nights that we can get the decree, and what we can get our hajj, our ziyarats, our good deeds, our death, our life. Who's going to be born is going to be fixed this night. It is going to be set. So this is a very important night for all of us, especially the youth, especially those that want to seek perfection and completeness, that this is a night that they can change themselves. This is a night due to the blessing of the 12th Imam, as all the angels are descending on the heart of the 12th Imam tonight. Because of him, our actions tonight are worth 80 years, almost 80 years, almost a thousand nights, as the Quran says. So we can change 1,000, we can go forward 1,000 nights, meaning a lifetime. If somebody truly observes this night, they will go forward a lifetime. This is the potential of tonight. But it means that we also have to observe it. We have to listen. We have to come to this night as a beggar, coming to this night as somebody that is not arrogant and has full of pride. Right? We have to come tonight as somebody that doesn't have hope with anybody else. Somebody that has lost their hope with creation. That we only have hope in Allah tonight, and that become as true beggars. We don't come as, say, doctors and engineers and teachers, or we are a beggar tonight. Because the doors of begging are open, but will not always be open. Right? In the Quran it says, those that they do repentance and they say, whatever I did, I'm sorry, but it's when death comes to them, it is too late for them. The Quran says, وَلَيْسَتْ التَّوْبَةُ لِلَّذِينَ يَعْمَلُونَ السَّيِّئَاتِ حَتَّى إِذَا حَضَرَ أَحَدُهُمُ الْمَوْتُ قَالَ إِنِّي تُبْتُ الْآنَ. When the angel of when Israel comes to you and says, and you are scared, and you say, now I want to be a beggar, now I want to ask Allah for forgiveness, it's too late. In the day of judgment, when you see the flames of the fire, and you say everything that all the narrations and the verses of Quran you see that they have told you are true, then it's too late to say, oh, now I want to believe. So tonight is the night. The doors of begging are not always open. One of the great ulama that we had, Ayatollah Jamal, Sayyid Jamal ad-Din Golpayagani, he was one of the friends of Ayatollah Burujerdi. They studied together when they were young. He passed away around 60 years ago. He was a mujtahid, a marja, and also an arif. He has a mukashafa in Najaf. He was studying in Najaf. What is a mukashafa? A mukashafa is a mystical experience. It's not a dream, and it's not perfect reality. It's something between a dream and being awake. But the senses work. The difference between a mukashafa and a dream is that the senses work. He's in Wadi al-Salam, one of the biggest and most important cemeteries in the world. It extends from Najaf all the way to Karbala. And in Wadi al-Salam, he goes to different graves. One piece of dirt that he goes to, and people were always wondering why is he going there, ends up being his own grave. He used to pray where his own grave was. He's there one day and it's very hot. He opens his sleeves. It's Najaf. You understand, those that have done ziyarat of Amir al-Mu'mineen know how warm it is in the summer. And he sees a mukashafa. He sees something in the graveyard. What does he see? He sees that the same people that he told, maybe the store owners, the people that lived in Najaf, some of them, he sees them come to him. They come to him in a very, very bad state. They need help. They're being punished. They come to him, Sayyid, help us. Sayyid, help us. And it's a mukashafa. He doesn't have control. He tells them, go away, go away. I told you to beg. You had a chance to beg. The doors of begging weren't always open. Now the doors are closed. Go, go. And the angels of the hellfire grab these people and they drag them back to their graves. So brothers and sisters, tonight is the night of begging. If you want to free yourself from this threat that everybody is facing, no believer can guarantee right now that I'm going to heaven. Nobody knows right now if they're going to heaven, because we don't know the last and final things that we are going to do. The end is the most important, right? The end is what is the most important for us. So tonight is one of the nights of Qadr. And one of the most important things tonight is to think, to think about yourselves, to reflect about yourselves. In one hand tonight we have the peak of worship, which is the ibadat and worship we're going to do tonight. On the other we have the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali alayhi salam. Are these two related to each other? Imam Ali alayhi salam and the night of Qadr. It is a night of thinking. Let's tonight think about this relationship between the martyrdom of the most perfect of creation and the nights of Qadr, one of the most important nights for us. Imam Ali alayhi salam, his birth was a sign for us that Allah opened the Kaaba and he was born in the Kaaba. Both Shia and Sunni say that Imam Ali alayhi salam was born in the Kaaba. That was a sign. Is his death for us a sign too? Is there something that we can reflect from the life of Imam Ali, his death? Please recite a salawat. Brothers and sisters, in one of the du'as, it's in Amaliya Saduq, one of the du'as or sermons that the Prophet gave in the month of Sha'ban, before the month of Ramadan came. The Prophet told Imam Ali, and and Prophet told him about what was going to happen to him in the month of Ramadan. He tells him about some of the fada'il of the month of Ramadan, the virtues, what is the best important thing to do in the month of Ramadan. And the Prophet says, taqwa, not sinning. Then in the end of the sermon, the Prophet begins to cry. He says, in the narration is, ثُمَّ بَكَى فَقُلْتُ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. Imam Ali says, مَا بَكِيكَ مَا يُبْكِيكَ فَقَالَ يَا عَلِي أَبْكِيكَ لِمَا يُسْتَحَلُّ مِنْكَ فِي هَذَا الشَّهْرِ. Why are you crying? What makes you cry, O Prophet of Allah? The Prophet says, it is what they have made halal, whose blood they have allowed to be shed during this month. He says, كَأَنِّي بِكَ وَأَنْتَ تُصَلِّي لِرَبِّكَ. As if I am with you, Ali, and you're praying, you're in your salat, you're praying. وَقَدْ انبعث أشقى الأولين والآخرين. The worst of the beginning and the end comes, and he hits you. ضربة على قرنك فخضب منها لحيتك. And your beard becomes full of blood. So the Prophet is telling Imam Ali, during this month, you're going to be struck with the sword. Now, brothers and sisters, if it is us, somebody is telling us a future event, say for example, na'udhu billah, somebody says you're going to get into an accident. What would we do? We would first say, when? How? What's going to happen? Can I stop this accident happening to me, right? But what does Imam Ali alayhi salam ask? He asks, he says, قال يا أمير المؤمنين قلت يا رسول الله وذلك في سلامة من ديني. Is my deen, is my religion going to be intact? Am I going to have a complete religion, or am I going to have lost my religion? So the most important thing that Imam Ali says, and it is amazing because he says, Abul Ajaib, isn't what's going to happen, is it going to hurt, what about my religion? Brothers and sisters, this is Amir al-Mu'mineen, he's Qasimun Nar wal Jannah, he's the separator of the people of heaven and earth, and he's asking about his own deen, his own religion. Is this something for us tonight to awaken, that what about our religion? What about when Israel comes to get us? What state will we be at? Will we be a Muslim? Will we be a true believer? What stage of Iman will we be? Will we be a follower of Imam Ali alayhi salam? Because those that sin and do bad deeds, Allah at the end of their life will take away their Iman. Because hidayat is from Allah. It's very complicated, hidayat and guidance. But it's from Allah. Allah will decide who will be guided and who will not be guided, but depending from our own actions, depending on our own intentions and our own du'as. Depending if tonight you brothers and sisters will do du'a for hidayat and husnul aqibah, having a good end. Because in the religion of Islam, the end is what's important. The beginning is not important, the middle is not important, the end is important. Look at Shaitan. How much did he worship? Thousands of years. But the end, he became Shaitan. He disobeyed Allah. Look at Ibn Muljam. And this is the story that I want to give you tonight. The killer of Imam Ali, the murderer of Imam Ali, was actually one of those that loved Imam Ali. He loved Imam Ali, then at the end, he became the worst, one of the worst people in history. So tonight, as we mention the stories of Ibn Muljam, I want you to reflect, and I am saying this to myself first, that we have to somehow tonight, the 23rd, beg and ask Allah to keep us guided. We have to beg and ask Allah to keep us on religion, because it can be taken away from us. And if we don't realize the blessings of it, just how any other gift that Allah gives, He will take it away from us. So, and this is something that the Prophet has says. He says that لا يزال المؤمن خائفا من سوء العقاب. A true believer is always afraid of his end. What will end? The end result will become bad. That at the end he will become misguided. He's always afraid. It's interesting, I talked about Qasimun Nari wal Jannat. I hope that this doesn't surprise you, brothers and sisters, that Imam Ali, this is in our narrations, so many that Imam Ali in the day of judgment will divide people into heaven and hell. They came to one of the big scholars of our Sunni brothers, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and asked him about this narration. And he affirmed and confirmed this narration that Imam Ali will divide the believers, and said to them, isn't his love iman? Isn't his love faith? Isn't his hatred hypocrisy? Therefore, he himself is dividing people, because whoever loves him will be a believer, and whoever hates him will be a disbeliever. So even Ahmad ibn Hanbal has accepted this narration. So Imam Ali alayhi salam is Qasimun Nar wal Jannah, and tonight is his night. And tonight we learn from his lessons, and we want to learn from the lesson of his murderer, Ashq al-Ashqiya ibn Muljam. The first time they say that Imam Ali alayhi salam met Ibn Muljam, they say, was when he became a Khalif. When he became the Caliph, and he wanted to get allegiance from the people of Yemen. He said to them, give me 10 people, give me 10 of your best. So the Yemenis, the people of Yemen, went through and they separated 100 people. From these 100 people, they brought 70. They took 30 out, they put 70. From these 70, they took 30 of the best of the 70. From this 30, they took 10 people, and they were the best people of Yemen. From these 10 people, one person was their spokesman. And this person comes to Imam Ali, starts praising Imam Ali. Something like Ziyarat Jami Kabira, I'm just saying, is Assalamu alaikum ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, you're my wali, you're my imam. He keeps praising the imam and that he's against his enemies. And he keeps praising him. And Imam Ali alayhi salam asks him, he says, Masmuka ya ghulam, what's your name? He says, Ismi Abdul Rahman. My name is Abdul Rahman. قال ابن من قال ابن yes, and he says قال ابن من, who are you the son of? He says, I am the son of Muljam, Ibn Muljam. And basically he says Al-Muradi, you're from the tribe of Murad. When Imam Ali hears this, he says, so it's Ibn Muljam Al-Muradi. I've heard that he puts hits his hands on each other. He says, La inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. He knows this is his killer. So he gets allegiance from these 10 people. But when it comes to Ibn Muljam, and this is from Bihar, he comes to get allegiance from Ibn Muljam, he gets it 3 times. He gets it once, he comes back, he gets it again, he gets bay'at again and again. And Ibn Muljam asks him, how come you got a bay'at from everybody else 1 time, but from me 3 times? Imam Ali alayhi salam tells him that I don't see that you're going to remain loyal. I don't see you're going to remain loyal in my allegiance. Then Ibn Muljam becomes surprised and says, وَإِنِّي وَاللَّهِ لَا أُحِبُّ الْإِقَامَةَ مَعَكَ وَالْجِهَادَ بَيْنَ يَدَيْكَ. I love to be with you. I love to fight with you on the same ranks. So this is the first meeting that Imam Ali alayhi salam has with Ibn Muljam, his killer, somebody that apparently was guided, apparently at that time. But after tahkim, which is the process that with Muawiyah, the arbitration that Muawiyah had with Imam Ali, they had tahkim, and from then the Khawarij, another group arose. And they did not accept Muawiyah, they did not accept Imam Ali. Ibn Muljam deviated from Islam, deviated from the path of Imam Ali. So much so that he became his killer. And in one of the meetings, last night I mentioned the meetings of Imam Ali who he met with during the last 48 hours of his life. And we talked about the companions of Imam Ali. Each one of them, they came towards Imam Ali. One of these meetings that I promised you I would share tonight was what Imam Ali alayhi salam said to Ibn Muljam after he was hit with the sword. Imam Ali comes to him. He is bleeding. He says, فَقَالَ لَهُ بِضَعْفٍ وَإِنْكِسَارِ الصَّوْتِ وَرَأْفَةٍ وَرَحْمَةٍ. He tells him with a broken voice, with compassion. Imam Ali is talking to his killer, his murderer. He talks with him with compassion and says, يَا هَذَا لَقَدْ جِئْتَ عَظِيمًا. You have done something very bad. You have performed a very bad crime. You have done a great crime. And he tells him, أَبِئْسَ الْإِمَامْ كُنْتُ لَكَ حَتَّى جَازَيْتَنِي. Was I a bad imam for you, that you have come and hit me with the sword, that you have decided to do this? وَقَدْ وَأَلَمْ أَكُنْ شَفِيقًا عَلَيْكَ وَأَثَرْتُكَ عَلَى غَيْرِكَ وَأَحْسَنْتُ إِلَيْكَ. Didn't I do good to you? There are stories that Imam Ali alayhi salam did good to Ibn Muljam. Didn't I prefer you from others? Didn't I do good to you? Was I a bad imam for you? وَقَدْ كُنْتُ أَعْلَمُ أَنَّكَ قَاتَلِي. And I knew that you were my murderer. I knew you were going to kill me, but I still did good to you. So this is what Imam Ali alayhi salam, this meeting, this 48 hours that we're talking about, basically 48 hours, that he meets Ibn Muljam and he tells him this. So our question is, what happened to Ibn Muljam? Why did he become who he is? Who, first of all, was this group, the Khawarij? And why did Ibn Muljam become deviated? And what can we learn from the lessons of Ibn Muljam that we will not deviate from the path of Imam Ali, the love of Imam Ali? See, the Khawarij, as I said, in that arbitration tahkim that happened with Muawiyah, they arose because they didn't accept the judgments that were passed, or the way that the war between Imam Ali and Muawiyah, when they put the Quran on their heads. But the Khawarij, it's interesting to know, they had few characteristics. One of those characteristics is that they struggled and they had a lot of self-sacrifice. They weren't people of the world. In some of the narrations, Imam Ali talks about Muawiyah, those that went after religion because of the dunya. The Khawarij were after religion because of religion. They sacrificed. They struggled, right? Second, they worshipped a lot. They had a lot of devotion. Some of the Khawarij, they say, would not at night even pray, would not even sleep at night. One of their servants said, if you talk about this Khawarij, I never saw him sleep at night. He didn't even have a bed. He would always, nighttime, he would always worship. Daytime, I never even put a sufra for him to eat. He was always fasting. So they were fasting, they were praying, they're into self-sacrifice, they would fight. But their problem was they were ignorant. They were unknowing. Their level of knowledge, just like many people today that we see today in the Islamic world, they might pray, they might fast a lot, they might have a lot of self-sacrifice, but they're ignorant and they're jahil. But the most important characteristic of the Khawarij was that they were misguided. And this is something that is very important, is to be guided, because the Ahlul Bayt and the Prophet, they are the guides. The Khawarij, their most important distinguishing fact that they had was they left Imam Ali. We say to those that are today, we see in the world, they call them extremists. We say a worse word to them. We don't say extremists, because somehow extremist is still in this path, is in Islam. We say they are misguided. They have left, they have deviated from Islam. Not that they're in the same path as us. They have deviated, they're misguided. Once you leave the Ahlul Bayt, you will become misguided, because they are the path. They are the Sirat al-Mustaqim. So the problem with Ibn Muljam was that day that he left the ranks of Imam Ali, and he chose to separate himself. And this is a danger that we have, that we face, that we can become misguided, right? We can leave the path of the Ahlul Bayt, right? This word of guidance and hidayat in the Quran, because this is a night that we are asking from Allah guidance. This word maybe appears 250 times in the Quran, hidayat, guidance. What is one of the first du'as we do? What is the first du'a we do in the Quran when we recite the Quran, inside the Quran? Very good. For him, give a salawat. Allah. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين is not a dua. The first dua in the Quran is اهدنا صراط المستقيم. Every day, if you notice, brothers and sisters, we are praying for guidance, right? How many times would that be? 10 times a day, at least? 10 times a day, we are praying for guidance, because guidance doesn't mean that we are guided and now it's over. Oh, I prayed, I was guided once, I was good. Now it's over, I can relax. No, guidance is something that always needs to come, every second. Therefore, we pray for it every day in our prayers, right? And it's in Surah Al-Fatiha. So this is a very important issue. It's a very important topic. This is what caused Ibn Muljam to become who he is. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says this narration, says, مَهْمَا تَرَكْتَ مِنْ شَيْءٍ فَلَا تَتْرُكْ. If you're going to leave something, don't leave this. Don't leave this. أن تقول في كل صباح ومساء. Don't leave this dua. Day and night. اللهم اهدني في من هديت. God, guide me towards those that you have guided. Guide me towards Imam Ali. Guide me towards the Prophet. Guide me towards Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, Sayyid Fatima. This dua, and this is very similar to اهدنا صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. This is the same meaning. Guide me towards those that you have given them ni'mat and blessings. The Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt were giving the biggest blessings. So this dua we're doing every day. And this is a dua that we have to continuously do. This concept of guidance is so powerful that it guides our life. Sometimes God will not give us enough money, will put us in poverty because of guidance, because of hidayat. He wants us to become guided. Sometimes He'll give us money because He wants us to be guided. Right? You heard of the story of the man during the life of the Prophet, and he kept asking for the Prophet to do dua for him to make him more rich, and he becomes more rich. And then at the end, ثَعْلَبَ, the Prophet hits his hand, I believe, ثَعْلَبَ, and he says, وَيْلٌ ثَعْلَبَ, because at the end he didn't give his zakat, right? At the end he lost his iman because he had too much money then. He forgot Allah. So this concept of guidance, Allah will give us, if we understand this concept, we can understand sometimes, and I'm not saying that money, you don't have to work for it, no. You have to work for it, you have to plan for it. This world is a world of cause and effect. You have to strive and have a good job. You have to work long hours if needed to be. But at the end, you'll work very hard, but you won't grow economically. And this will be because of guidance. God does not want you right now. He does not see that it is adequate or that you should be right now at this financial level. So one of the first steps of guidance is that you humbly, like a night to night, the night of Qadr, you pray for guidance. Without asking from Allah, you will not get a guidance, because guidance is from Him. And you have to realize that guidance is also something very complicated. It is something very hidden. You can't expect it to be guided in a very miracle way. Some angel just comes and says, become Muslim. You brothers and sisters are all here because of you're guided to Islam, to the maktab of the Ahlul Bayt. But it might have been something very discreet, right? It might have been just a friend that you knew and you're in high school, or you're still in high school, you're in junior high. He talked to you and brought you to a center, and slowly you became guided. So guidance is something that is very, very discreet. It's something that we don't really understand, but we know that it has adl in it, that God is just when He gives it, right? Because it comes in the Quran, He says He does not guide those that sin. He does not guide the dhalameen, those that oppress, they won't be guided, right? And guidance is a word, or is a term that is tashkiki, we say. There's different levels of guidance. It's not either you're guided or you're not. It's 0 or 1 or black and white. Guidance has different levels. God will guide you to another level. You're at this level, He'll guide you to a higher level, right? You keep going in different levels. It's tashkiki, right? And that is one of the beautiful things about this religion, is that it's a religion that the ultimate goal is infinite, right? Imam Ali alayhi salam is at the peak. We may not reach that peak, but what's important is that we are facing that peak, that our back is not towards that peak, right? That mountain. We might be in different stages in this travel towards Allah and towards the guides of Allah, but what's important is to be facing and be traveling towards them, right? So guidance is a very important topic, and one of the things that we can do to remain guided and to, inshallah, increase our guidance. Please recite a salawat. One of those is first, ways to keep guidance. One is to always ask for it, as we mentioned. You always, every day, you say, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, right? Every day sincerely. The other way is guidance is faith, right? It means to be guided to reach, not just to know. There's a difference between when somebody guides you towards something and tells you that's over there. Guidance, hidayat, means is reaching where you're supposed to go. So guidance is faith, and faith itself has knowledge in it, and faith itself has attraction in it. There's love in faith, and there's also knowledge. The more you increase your knowledge of Islam, the more you know about your beautiful religion, the more of a chance there is you will remain guided. Because if you're not strong in your logic, in your arguments, you're not strong in your history, then you can be presented with weak arguments and you can be fooled. So to strengthen yourselves and prepare yourselves, at-tafaqquh fi ad-din, a deep understanding of religion, is one of the three areas where a person is complete in religion. If a person does not have a complete understanding, a deep understanding of religion, their religion is not complete. So one of those is increasing our knowledge. Every day, or whenever we can, study. When you see your friends, you talk to them, you talk about something Islamic, learn something new, refresh your minds. Always have your mind with knowledge and Islamic knowledge. If it's not, your mind is going to think about something else. What happened today in Europe? What happened today in the Middle East? These are important to know, but not every day that's all we're thinking about, right? What happened in this movie? What happened? Your mind will be filled up with things that you don't want it to be filled up with. If every day or every week, especially when you come to the majalis of the Ahlul Bayt, your mind will be presented with a topic, and that week you'll be thinking about that topic. You won't be distracted, right? The second thing is increasing our love with the Ahlul Bayt, because love is the essence of religion. Hal ad-din illa al-hub is a narration. Is religion anything but love? If you have love for the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt, true love, you will not be misguided. Increasing our love for the Ahlul Bayt. They came to the Imams, they told them, we give the names of our children after you, Muhammad, Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein. We give our names, our children after you. And the Imam says, Hal ad-din illa al-hub? Isn't religion anything but love? The Shias are supposed to love the Ahlul Bayt. Everything they do is for the Ahlul Bayt. A person came to Imam Baqir alayhi salam, and he walked in a very, very difficult journey, and his feet were damaged and bloody, injured basically. And basically Imam said the same thing. He traveled all the way from a very far city to visit Imam Baqir alayhi salam. Hal ad-din illa al-hub? Is religion anything else but love? So increasing our love. As you see, brothers and sisters, you wore black for Imam Ali alayhi salam. These are signs of love. These signs will be appreciated by, inshallah, the Prophet of Islam, who is his brother, his teacher, his nafs. And going to the majalis, loving the Ahlul Bayt, hearing them, crying about them. One of the Urafa that wanted to meet Imam Zaman, he cried and cried to meet the 12th Imam. And he kept crying, and finally they told him to do something. They told him to cry for Imam Hussein in the morning and to cry for Imam Hussein at night. He did this for 1 year. He cried for Imam Hussein in the morning. He cried for Imam Hussein at night. At the end, he got this beautiful gift. He met the 12th Imam. So this love, and when we mention every night, I try to mention the musibat of the Ahlul Bayt. This is to increase our love for the Ahlul Bayt, to hear what they went through. When we hear about the virtues of Imam Ali, it's to increase our love for Imam Ali. And finally, we have to be thankful. If we are not thankful about something, we can lose it. If you're not grateful for something, you will lose it. Right? Are we truly grateful for our religion? Where would we be if we didn't have religion, if we didn't have God? You see, we live in a society that's not very religious. You see, where people have been led off to. Where would each and every one of us be if we didn't have Islam? So we have to be grateful, right? We have to be grateful, as the Quran has that beautiful verse, La in shakartum la azidannakum. If you are thankful, if you are grateful, I shall certainly increase you, it says. I increase you, not your actions. The Quran says you yourselves. If you're grateful for Islam and you say thank you to Allah, you're very grateful. Let me tell you a story about being grateful. A person came to Imam Rida alayhi salam. And Imam Rida lived in Marv during that time, which was the capital of the government during that time. And he was poor. He came to Imam Rida and Imam Rida was eating grapes. And he comes and this person says that, I need money. Financially, I'm not doing good. Help me. He complains about how he needs help. Imam Rida is listening to him and offers him a branch from these grapes. The person says, I need money and you're giving me grapes? I want money. I need help. Grapes aren't going to solve anything for me. Then Imam Rida alayhi salam, the Ahlul Bayt were very patient. He waits. Another person comes, one of his true Shia. And when he comes in, Imam Rida just gives him one grape. He says, thank you. This is from you, Imam Rida, this grape. I'm going to get the water of this grape. I'm going to share it with my family. This is tabarruk. This has barakat. This is from Imam Rida. I'm going to give it to you. Then Imam Rida alayhi salam gives him a branch. The guy says, a whole branch for me? This, I can give grapes to everybody, my friends. I can give them, this is barakat for Imam Rida alayhi salam. He gives him the entire tray. He says, a whole tray of grapes from you, Imam Rida? Wow, this is great. Then Imam Rida says, this farm, the grapes, this farm is now you. He gives him the title of that farm, right, of grapes. So if you are grateful with Allah, and I say this to myself, if you're grateful for your love of Imam Ali, Allah will increase it. If you're not grateful for it, say, okay, now I have to fast, now I have to pray, this is difficult religion. You don't enjoy it, you don't thank God for it, it might be taken away from you. So we ask Allah that He gives us during this night guidance. And this was what Ibn Muljam, that he left the ship of salvation. He left the guidance, the pillars of guidance was Imam Ali. And this is, today you see people that leave Imam Ali, what happens to them? The final result of leaving Imam Ali, you see it right now in the news, right? So this was a very important lesson for us, that Ibn Muljam, the killer of Imam Ali, who loved Imam Ali, but not truly, because he was not careful of his deen. He became misguided, he didn't care, he didn't pray for it. and he didn't stick with Imam Ali, stick with the Ahlul Bayt, he became misguided. And tonight is a night when you recite those du'as tonight, and I recommend you, brothers and sisters, to be somewhere tonight, to be secluded, to think and ponder. It's not a night of talking and chatting, it's a night of listening. Let's listen, because all the angels, either all of them or most of them, are descending on the heart of Imam Zaman. So be somewhere that you can be very peaceful tonight and reflect, and over be a beggar. Ask Allah to guide you. And if you're at a good level of Iman, ask Him to give you a higher level of Iman and the highest level of Iman. Inshallah. We'd like to dim the lights if you can, brothers. And I want to take you to, inshallah, Kufa, and take you and practice over and over this love and shedding tears for Imam Ali. Because if you shed tears for Imam Ali, you will remain guided, inshallah. Ya Abul Hasan, let's recite this part of Du'a Tawassul first. Ya Abul Hasan, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, O Commander of the Faithful, Ya Ali ibn Abi Talib, Ya Hujjat Allahi ala khalqi,